Hej, vi ska nu göra någonting som väldigt många människor har varnat oss för att göra. Vi ska dissekera humor. Och att dissekera humor är rätt likt att dissekera en levande groda. Det är rätt äckligt och det slutar alltid med att grodan dör. Men vi kommer i alla fall att försöka. Vi ska rota, vi ska korsförhöra och vi ska gräva och försöka få fram det där som ligger bakom skämten. Och det här kommer vi misslyckas med under seriens gång flera gånger, men vi kommer i alla fall att försöka. För humor har nämligen ingenting med glädje att göra. Humor är ingen flabbfest, som många göteborgare verkar tro. Humor är rätt äckligt och ofta ganska småtrist. Men humor är framförallt viktigt. Det är lika viktigt som att torka gamlingar i baken, odla spannmål och se till att tågen rullar i tid. Hjärtligt välkomna till Dokument humor. I 8 avsnitt kommer jag att resa runt hela världen för att undersöka det här underliga som ibland får oss att skratta. Humor. Jag kommer att träffa massor av jätteviktiga humorpersoner. En del är superkända, en del är okända för dig, men ändå viktiga i humorns näringssystem. Och de ska hjälpa oss att förstå lite mer av vad humor är och hur den opererar på oss.
All of your comedy is just defense mechanisms.
Hey, don't mention så var, huh?
Men är det inte härligt att få skratta? Nej.
Robert väljer tältet.
De här fräckisarna, det är en del av den svenska humorn.
What's your show about? I say nothing. There you go. I think you may have something here.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be advised that all mobile telephone units on board must be turned off.
Kurder, araber, finnar, lappar, tyskar, polacker, judar, katoliker, engelsmän med maskätna tänder och fransmän som inte kan stava till ordet intimhygien. Fördomar är roliga, särskilt rasistiska skämt. För en komiker finns det massor av fördelar med fördomar. 1. Det är lite förbjudet, vilket är spännande och därför roligt. Och 2. Det är effektivt, så det ger alltid snabba garv. Fördomar, det ska vi prata om i det här programmet.
Europa är ju en brokig köttfärs av folk och olika språk som inte kan komma överens med varandra. Men är vi så olika egentligen? För rent humormässigt så tror jag att det bara finns 2 slags européer.
Well, what I noticed from very, very early on is that the kind of programs that I did always seemed to be successful in Northern Europe, not in Southern Catholic Europe.
Right. And now, if you had to say why, even though you can't say why, would it be an authoritarian thing, a climate thing? What would you, if you?
Well, I think it's a temperamental thing. I mean, the weather's slightly similar. We don't get as cold as you. People are not overly demonstrative. They run relatively uncorrupt societies. There are certain things, and there's Protestantism in common. There's certain kind of, maybe Protestant is the best way. I don't mean in an overt way, in a religious way, but the value system is still based to some extent in Protestant values. And at the same time, all these countries seem to be able to appreciate the absurd. Whereas I don't see Southern Catholic Europe as producing silly, absurd Monty Python type comedy in the way that, in a funny kind of way, the Northerners sometimes do.
Why would you think that is then the absurdity? Why do we like that so much, do you think?
I think that the Northerners perhaps have a greater capacity for less literal thinking. That may surprise you, but I feel that the people who can understand, for example, Monty Python, are people who can see the silliness, but also pick up the idea behind the silliness. In other words, if you have Mao Zedong and Fidel Castro and various major figures, Karl Marx in communism, and you get them all in the studio and then ask them about popular songs or football, it's ridiculous. But if you see that behind it is the idea that this is exactly what would happen with executives, in other words, the complete lack of intelligent orientation of most of the program planners is the idea at the back of this absurd thing where you ask Karl Marx who won the Eurovision Song Contest in 1976. Now, either you see that idea at the back of it or you just think it's silly. And in order to see it, you have to have a certain capacity for what I would call abstract thought. You have to see the idea behind it, and not just the manifestation of it.
Det finns alltså humoristiskt högt utvecklade nordeuropeer som gillar att sitta och vitsa och vara smarta. Och så finns det humoristiskt efterblivna sydeuropeer som gillar clowner och mimar och bara bröst. Och i öst, där tycker de det är kul med dansande björnar. Och i Tyskland, där har de ingen humor alls. Och här i Frankrike, vad skrattar man åt här i Frankrike? Va? Fattar ni vilken röra det är med europeisk humor? Vi får ta och tillkalla en expert som kan reda ut det här åt oss.
I'm sorry, Europeans, but we're going to have to be bilingual. We are going to have to be. And English speakers hate this. 2 languages in one head. No one can live at that speed.
But you're saying there would be no cultural differences apart from the language, you're saying?
Oh, there is cultural differences, but my big theory that I have is that humour is human. Especially more aware people, the more open-minded people, they all watch Discovery Channel, History Channel, and we all know that people are going to bars now and looking at stuff, and we can all go, hey, yeah, we can jump in that. Mm-hmm. Your more mainstream people are much more, well, I'm Swedish, I'm English, and I won't talk to the next person. But if suddenly that person came and arrived there, and they'd say, oh, he seems all right. Mm. That classic xenophobic line of, I don't like these people, but you seem to be all right. And we say this about Americans usually. God, I hate Americans. But you're all right, Jack. Not you. I don't mean you. I meant all those other people. I now met a lot of Americans who I like.
So you wouldn't change your act moving through Europe? It would be it would stay the same.
And that's what I do. I just go, hey, Stockholm, what about Mars? You know, I might talk about Mars start off, or I might talk about trees or elephants.
And they always eat, squirrels always eat nuts with 2 hands, always 2 hands. And occasionally they stop and go, as if they're going, did I leave the gas on? No, I'm a fucking squirrel.
If you talk about, like, different countries tend to like to joke about other countries, like Swedes would like to put down Norwegians, English, Irish, American, Poles. Why is that, do you think? Why do we enjoy making fun of our next door neighbors?
Hatred light. Okay, well, it goes from gossip into hatred. If you make a piece of furniture, you say you made this thing, or you build something, or you do something, or you do some work and you finish the report and it's great, then you feel good about yourself because you did this work. If you gossip and say, you heard about so-and-so, it could be a friend or someone, you hear about Jeff and what he did and he fell down the stairs, he was trying to do this thing, and by gossiping and sort of giggling about it, it's kind of a low-level hatred. And everyone does it, I do it, and I do hatred as well. So, but it's a way of lowering other people's status, and so you raise yours by default. Because if you're there and they're there, you bring that down, and suddenly you've gone up, and you just feel good, as if you've done some work, as if you've made a piece of furniture done on a report. But you don't have to do any work. You can just sit around and have a coffee and do gossip. And hatred is like an advanced form of that. So I think they're taking the piss out of other countries, I'd say, comes into the gossip. It's not really full-blown hatred there.
Empires. We stole countries. That's what you do. That's how you build an empire. We stole countries with the cunning use of flags. Yeah. You just sail around the world and stick a flag in. I claim India for Britain. And they go, you can't claim us, we live here. 500 million of us. Do you have a flag?
Dylan Moran är en lätt kolerisk och surrealistisk irländsk gnällspik som tjatar och tjatar om hur jobbigt det moderna livet och framförallt alla andra människor är. Är det någon som kan göra skämt av fördomar så är det han.
The weak, sensual, pleasure-loving French, you know, not going to war because they're all still in bed at 2 in the afternoon with the sheets coiled about their knees, lying there, scratching themselves, smoking a Gauloise inside as you turn. It's a prejudice, of course, speaking, you know, but I'm a very prejudiced person. Prejudice, people worry about it nowadays. I don't. I think you need it. It reminds you who you are.
Yeah, I think it does. Because it's very hard to know who you are most of the time. Because you do sometimes, it does just seem like you're a random ragbag of prejudices. You know, you define who you are by who it is that you hate up the road.
Why do we do that, you think? Why do we enjoy doing that so much?
I suppose there's a childish element to it, which is fun. You know, it's really no different to one child saying to another, your mum and dad smell of wee, and your granny is a whore. There's no difference. People do that all over the world, you know.
As an Irishman, when you come to London, what kind of prejudice do you encounter? Or do you still encounter that one?
I wouldn't even notice it, not from these spineless, lick-spittling, palsied, egg-white excuses for human beings that they have in Britain. I wouldn't even register on there. They laugh at all the other European countries. They're very ignorant. They're rubbish at languages. You, I presume, like every other Swede, speak at least 11 languages.
But when English people go away, they recognize one another very easily. You know, they go to France or Spain or Italy and blend into the environment. You'd never know they were there. You sit there enjoying the atmosphere, talking to the waiters, saying, "What do you mean it's now fucking chips? I'll come here on a plane, you cunt."
Now, when you went to Sweden, what was your view on the short time you were there? Is there anything that sort of...
I saw lakes, I saw some snow, I saw... what else did I see? Did I mention snow and lakes?
Yes, you did.
Okay, I had a sandwich. It was terrific.
Now, what was your view on Sweden before you went? What was your, like, still talking about the prejudice?
Sesame Street chef.
The chicken in the basket.
The hurdy-gurdy for the thing.
Right.
Herrings, Ibsen, gloominess.
Ibsen.
Well, Ibsen, you know, I know he's Norwegian,
Right.
but you know, it's all the same to us. We don't know. We just you think of Bergman, you think of people sitting in huts, not speaking for 3,000 years, eating black bread. The sea is crashing against the window. Somebody commits suicide. Then it's somebody else's turn to commit suicide. They sit down, they eat more black bread, they don't speak.
Men vad gör det? När en inte har något ont mer.
Now, there was one thing that John Cleese said is that they find a difference between the northern part of Europe and the southern part of Europe, that some jokes will work much better in the northern part, so the white Protestant areas done.
Well, have you ever seen Spanish or Italian television?
Yes.
It's spectacularly dreadful. You know, you get big fat men chasing women in brightly coloured bikinis, and it's crap. In Germany, I think the idea we have is that people laugh at schnitzel and breasts, and that's about it. But in terms of northern Europe, you know, Sweden and so northern Europe, nothing. Just the waves, the darkness.
Right, the black bread.
Yeah, the dancing queen suicide, black bread riff.
Kalla klimat och allmänt jävliga förhållanden föder roligare människor. Därför är till exempel svenskarnas humor roligare än italienarnas. Italienarna skrattar helst åt varietégubbar flankerade av tingeltangel-bikinibrudar på tv. Och britterna är absolut roligast eftersom klimatet i England är vedervärdigt, tandvården är under all kritik, byråkratin är absurd, det finns aldrig varmvatten i kranen, maten är dödlig, kungahuset kaputt och så vidare. Vilket gör att de måste skämta sig fram genom livet och det föder en mer utvecklad humor som en ren överlevnadsstrategi.